Hi, everybody. I'm Mark Parsons, Chief Economist at ATB Financial. If you read our stuff from the 24/7, you'll know that we're really passionate about data. We talk about what's happening in the economy, recent trends, the outlook, and we like that stuff. But we're not just data. We talk to real people that are running businesses here in Alberta, and that informs what we do. So instead of you just not knowing about these conversations, I thought it would be great to have someone who runs a local business talk about what they do and why they've been so successful. I met Jacqueline Jacek at a W by ATB event about a year ago, and I just had such an interesting conversation with her. I was so fascinated by her story. I thought she needs to come on the show and talk about what she does. So I am pleased to welcome Jacqueline Jacek from JACEK Chocolate. Welcome.
Thanks, Mark. I'm so excited to be here.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Sure. So I started JACEK 16 years ago in my basement. I wanted a business that brought people joy, and joy to me is fashion and chocolate. So I couldn't decide which way I wanted to go. So I thought, you know what, why don't I use chocolate as my fabric and run it on a fashion business model. So run a chocolate business on a fashion business model. So I started small in my basement. I was working a corporate job. And to be fair, I didn't have any idea it would work. So I just wanted to get it out of my system, prove that it wouldn't work, and then I could continue down the corporate path. But that's not what happened.
So I have to be honest, like as an economist, I don't always understand this stuff. The way I think of the world is in Alberta, a lot of businesses that are, do in the kind of food processing type business, they're like, well, they're just adding value to resources we take out of the ground here in Alberta. So if you go to Lethbridge, they, big potato producers, then they process them, potato chips and things like that. You're a really interesting story because last time I checked, I don't think we grow cocoa beans.
No, definitely not. So
we don't. So how do you make this work? I mean, I'm just like, this is interesting. You have to have a pretty unique business model to compete in producing chocolate. And I see your product all over the shelves, and I'm a consumer of them. But how do you do it?
For sure. So for me, it was about creating gifts that spread joy. So, I was thinking, I gift buy, everybody buys gifts around the holidays or birthdays or any time of the year, really. And I was thinking, what can I build that brings me joy, that brings joy to other people, especially in that gifting market? So that's kind of where it all started, is let's run this chocolate business on a fashion business model and really focus on gifting. So making sure that it's sort of beautifully packaged, beautifully presented, tastes wonderful, all the different things. So I didn't start with sort of a local commodity, but used something that we're all familiar with, chocolate. But unfortunately only grows 10 degrees north and south of the equator. So did a lot of research, figured out which chocolate I wanted to use, and then figured out the process of processing it locally.
And how did you start? Like, did you say like you're going to try a little bit here and there and test the market and then scale? Like, can you just talk about the evolution of JACEK?
Yeah, the evolution is funny because I'm actually the least trained person here in our production. So I have a team of incredible pastry chefs, but it all started with an idea and a dream. And I did an online course. So I started a very hands-on skill by learning online through trial and error. And the beautiful thing with chocolate is people are always willing to try it. So I was just perfecting the art and working on it. And I'm still working on it 16 years later. I think the world of technology and chocolate is constantly changing. It's a relatively new food, the way we eat it now. And so it was just trial and error and starting small.
So you had some early success, you just like trial and error, you're self-taught. And was it someone that said to you, you know what, you got to make this a business? I mean, this is really good stuff. Like, what did you get encouragement along the way? What made you grow into the business you are today?
Yeah, for sure. So I would say, it grew very organically. I am not a massive risk taker. I wanted to prove out the concept first. So I'd work my corporate job during the day, and then I'd run the chocolate business at night and weekends. And I also started a family at the same time. So it was a bit of a crunchy time. So it was all happening. And so it kind of was just one foot in front of the other. And you get encouragement. So I was doing farmers markets. I started the Old Strathcona Farmers Market, and the business continues to build to the point where I had no choice, or I had a choice to make, was, do I continue down a corporate route, or do I really give this a go? Now, I'm very lucky that I had a husband that was very, very supportive and was willing to go down to one income while it took the time for me to build something. So, it didn't happen overnight. It took 8 years for me to pay myself. So a lot of people don't see sort of that hard work that went in the financial side on the back end, where I was reinvesting constantly into building this brand.
Fantastic. So how many people are on your team now?
So actually, I just counted. So we're 35 right now. We're in our peak season for the holidays. So as an economist, you'll find this interesting. We do 60% of our annual business in the next 6 weeks.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So it's the holiday season is
The holiday season.
Visit like you have so many seasons where chocolate's a thing, right? I don't know if you count Halloween because like that's not the chocolate. No one's handing out JACEK chocolates for Halloween, and if they are, I want to know.
No, but the holidays is corporate gifting as well, right? So we have to remember that businesses are buying for all of their clients, for all of their teams. So that's the majority of gifting happens in the holidays. Valentine's is one person buying for one. Easter, it's a little bit bigger than Valentine's, but Christmas and the holiday season is by far the biggest.
Can you talk about the people that you hire that are on your team? And one of the things I hear a lot about is like, I mean, there are a lot of people that move to Alberta looking for work, but still, tough to retain good talent. So what do you do with your work environment to create, this pride in what you do and make people want to really work at JACEK Chocolate?
I feel so lucky. We've had really long tenure with our team members, and as we've grown, we've just added more people, and we just really are committed to our joy, or our core values, of course, of joy as well. And I think that's the way we operate internally. Is we're in the business of chocolate. I mean, it's joyful to begin with anyway. And in terms of finding great people, I mean, we really lean on those core values for hiring, because we can train most skills here. And then we also have a lot of NAID students come in and we do their practicums, or they do their practicums here. And so, team members that are going to be a really good fit, we just keep on.
I want to understand a little bit how you're dealing with the spike in cocoa prices, because this is something we covered in the 24, that your input costs have really jumped.
Yes.
And so how are you dealing with some of those pressures?
Yeah, so the pressure first really came down, early 2024. So 70% of the world's cacao comes from the Côte d'Ivoire, or West Africa, Ghana. And so they're having a lot of issues with plant disease, and it's killing the tree. So they're having to yank them out and replant, which takes about 5 years for the trees to start fruiting properly again. And so there's a global shortage. I mean, that's the truth. There is just less cacao, and there's two emerging markets. China and India are taking a lot of the chocolate, which weren't traditional chocolate eating countries as well. So we have a real pressure on demand and supply, which is causing a 400% increase in our input costs, which is significant. So, it was massively challenging. Now the input cost has gone up 400%, but our biggest cost is still labor. So we don't have a huge, it's not a 400% impact on our full cost, if that makes sense.
Right. But that's still putting a lot of pressure on your margins. It's a big component.
But I feel so lucky. So it's been a year and a half that we've really started feeling this. And what we've learned is people are still buying, we're still having the same number of transactions. It's just people are buying a little bit less. So we're so happy that people are still coming to visit us, but we understand that maybe they just can't afford to buy, let's say, the 24 piece, they'll buy the 18 piece.
Yeah, it's interesting when inflation was taking off and people were struggling with cost of living pressures and and interest rate hikes. We've still found in the numbers that people were spending money on things they love. Like you talk about bringing joy to people's life. And I think you can talk to a lot of people and say, I'm not buying as much, but the last thing I'm going to give up is good chocolate.
Well, and I think people are still very discerning, especially if you're buying a gift, right? You want to buy something that's going to be valued. And so, that's been our experience. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was incredibly nervous doing 2 price increases. I didn't want to do it because it's scary, and especially when there's just less disposable income in households. But we really had no choice as a business. We had to do it. I wasn't willing to change the quality of the chocolate we use, which is Valrhona, which I will say is the best in the world. And I wasn't willing to reduce our product size.
Can you talk a little bit about your suppliers, how you work with them, like how you get to know them? Just a little bit about that, because like you said, you're not going next door for your product.
No. So in the chocolate world, there's 2 very distinct industries. So I think we need to start there so that people understand how this works. So I'm going to use fashion as an analogy. So you have the fabric maker, who's the chocolate maker. They're making chocolate right from the cocoa bean, from the raw material. So they're creating the fabric. And then you have the dressmaker, who's the chocolatier. So they're the people that buy that fabric, create the final dress, which is the bonbon or the chocolate bar. Most of the time, businesses are one or the other. I started as a chocolatier, so the dressmaker. I'm buying chocolate from Valrhona in France, bringing in the product, and then reworking it into the final dress or my final products. But if I'm truly about joy, I really wanted to have a relationship with the farmers. So about 8-9 years ago, I started a bean to bar program where we were also a chocolate maker. So buying the raw cacao and roasting it and doing the whole chocolate making process in Sherwood Park. So the bean to bar side, the chocolate making side, is about 10% of what we do. And we still use Valrhona for 90% of our products as well. So on both sides of the equation, buying cocoa beans direct, we face a lot more challenges in this shortage because we just can't even get cocoa beans. So thank God I've got a big supplier like Valrhona who has buying power, who has the inventory to sell to me. And I'm so grateful. I think one of the keys to JACEK's success over this has been the relationship with our suppliers. They have been behind us this whole time, working and forecasting to really make sure that we have the inventory we need to produce. For our Bean to Bar program, we source from Central and South America, so from Costa Rica, from Peru, from Colombia, and the Dominican Republic. And then on the Valrhona side, so the chocolate that we bring in from France, they source from everywhere around the world. They have great relationships. They're B Corp, so it's all ethical and it's all sustainably sourced.
That's amazing. So can you talk a little bit about your plans for the future? Are you kind of in a holding pattern? Are you going to keep going, or do you plan to expand? What's in store for JACEK Chocolate?
I wish I could do holding pattern, but it's not really my style. So we are opening, as I mentioned, a new store in St. Albert at Shops at Boudreaux in January. So we're super excited about that, to bring joy to this new community. And then another thing we're doing as well is we just last month launched a brand new brand. So it's produced by us, but it's a partnership with a functional mushroom company. So we're doing wellness chocolate. So the whole idea is indulgent wellness. And so we have 3 SKUs in this new brand that we're trying. So we're using 3 different mushrooms, one for each SKU. One is lion's mane for cognition and for brain health. The other one is cordyceps for energy. And the third one is reishi for calm.
So we're getting into the holiday season. I mean, you go to the stores, the Christmas stuff's out. What can we expect from you this season? Like, what are you rolling out? This is what you said. Most of your sales are in the holidays. So
it's like training for a marathon. We train all year for this time of the year, and we have a bunch of new products. So we have these ornaments that you can hang on the tree this year with little mini chocolate bars on the inside. Of course, we have our advent calendar, which is our most coveted product of the year. We are nearly sold out of them because we do a pre-order. And so that's something that we're really excited to showcase in the stores. So any remaining stock that we have. And then, of course, our holiday collection is just packed with really delicious, nostalgic, festive flavors.
All right. Well, we're getting close to time, but I have one more question for you. And we're heading into Women's Entrepreneurship Day. And you've had a very successful business, a local business, and you bring joy to people's lives through chocolate. What advice do you have for aspiring or even existing women entrepreneurs as we celebrate Women's Entrepreneurship Day?
For sure. So I was thinking about this because I get asked this a little bit, and I was thinking of my own journey. And I think a lot of, I operated a lot out of fear. So for me, it was just giving myself permission to try. Just do one thing. It doesn't have to be perfect. I used to wait for perfection before doing anything, but now I really just give myself permission to try something, and always remember, for me, that what's the worst that can happen? So when I make decisions, they're measured by what's the worst if this doesn't work. And if I'm okay with that, then I'm okay to just give myself permission and forge ahead.
Yeah, that's great. And were there moments in your journey of doubt, like it's easy to say that, but like living through it and some like starting a business, I know it's a lot of work, but were there any moments where you thought, yikes?
Oh, still happens all the time. I don't think that ever goes away.
It doesn't go away. So that's still a feeling.
It's still a thing. I think that the longer time goes, the challenges are just bigger, right? So the jumps are bigger. Like we're out of space in our production facility. So, there's big decisions to be made there. So, I don't think that ever goes away. I just think I get more comfortable and confident, and I'm a little bit better at giving myself permission
to not get it perfect, to fail a little bit along the way, and just keep going.
Absolutely.
Oh, this has been so good. I could go on forever talking to you and learning more about JACEK Chocolate, but I just want to thank you for spending the time with us to tell us about your business, how you've been so successful, and also like just some advice that you can share with other entrepreneurs. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Mark.